And welcome to tonight's Facebook Live. Thank you for joining me. It's 7:30 on a Wednesday evening, a little bit chilly here in Melbourne. Hopefully you are keeping warm. My name is Nancy Abdou. I am the CEO and founder of the Australian Dermal. Hello there. Hey Christina, good to see you on here. And if you've joined me on YouTube or Facebook, hello over there. So tonight we are going to discuss HIFU, so high intensity focused ultrasound. But before doing that, let me tell you a little bit about ourselves, what we do. That's the Australian Dermal Laser Institute, or also known as TADLI. And what we deliver, which is high quality training that is one-on-one, so fully customizable training suited to your learning style, your needs, and like I said, customizable according to all your different devices. So we teach you how to combine all the various modalities so you can maximize your return on your investment. And not only that, we'll create your own protocols too and help you with pricing as well. So how good is that? The other thing before I move on to HIFU and what it all is and what the buzzword is about is coming to the 19th and 20th of, no, that's the weekend of actually. So the third week of May, we've got Zing Fest. I'll put in the specific dates, mental blank of course, but we've got 3 days of sales, coaching and training, and it's all about psychology and planning and knowing how to, I suppose, sell your services or what you learn with us, and being able to increase your revenue and sales. So how good is that? The other thing I will be offering is, I get often asked about this clinical coaching and how do I write protocols to suit my clients' needs, and how do I individualize my client's skin journey and so forth. So what I'm doing is offering 50% off 4 hours of clinical coaching. So it's one-on-one, fully tailored to your needs, where we can look at all the different devices basically that you have in your clinic and how to combine them and create different treatment plans if you like. So I've got 50% off. I think we've got 5 of those left. But not only is that $497 and it's valued at $1,000, so you get 50% off that, but you also get tickets to come to Zing Fest, whether it's face-to-face or whether it's online. Or if you can't make it on those days, then of course it is recorded, so you'll be able to watch it. And that includes the 3 days of the sales psychology, treatment planning or marketing planning, and then 6 weeks of coaching with one of the Zing masters. So $497, it is over $3,800 worth for only $497. So that is amazing value. Even if you use one of the components, you're still getting amazing value. Anyway, so like I said, tonight it is all about HIFU, high intensity focused ultrasound. So it's been around for a little while now, a few years, but HIFU first started when in the medical arena, when they were trying to break down basically tumors. And so we know that it's been in the medical field for some time, successful outcomes, and also without too much trauma to the surrounding tissue, because it's quite focal, hence, the term high intensity focused ultrasound. So when we're using it for aesthetics, there's a particular depth of penetration we're trying to target. And depending on the actual device you have, we could be targeting as superficial as 1 or 1.5 mil. So we can go in just under that papillary layer there, or we can go in to roughly 2 mil or 3 mil or 4.5 mil, or when we're doing body treatments, we can keep going deeper and deeper, depending, like I said, what you're trying to target. The beauty about HIFU is no matter the depth we're trying to penetrate, there's no trauma to the surrounding tissue. But not only that, it's actually bypassing the various layers, which means there is no trauma to the epidermis. So the sound or the ultrasound bypasses all these layers without any collateral damage. So this is actually quite exciting, because if you think about how do we get down to, say, that SMAS, so the deep layer, that muscular layer there, that actually starts to sag as we age. So how do we get down there without surgery? And I think this is the most intriguing bit, because besides actually going in and cutting and having a surgical lift, there's not really a lot else out there that can actually do that. Even when we're looking at lasers or say IPL or radio frequency, there's still a little bit of thermal trauma or a little bit of heating or bulk heating to the surrounding tissue. And whilst in some instances having bulk heating is great, with HIFU, like I said, it bypasses all of these tissues and it targets whatever depth you're actually using. So for example, when we're hello Lani, when we're treating at the 4.5 mil, when we're treating our SMAS, like I said, that muscle that starts to age us as we get older, and then we get the jowls, the 4.5 is able to tighten. So roughly between 60 and 70 degrees of heat is actually targeting that SMAS layer, and it's able to tighten that tissue without any trauma. Now, we could do HIFU on its own, or we can combine it. We'll talk about that later. But it's only it is the only treatment that can reach that deep and can give us really nice contraction and without all the downtime. Bruising is minimal when it's done correctly. There's really no long-lasting erythema or edema. Might be only an hour or two of redness, but really it's quite short-lived. Clients may experience a little bit of tenderness in their bones. There are ways to stop that from happening, and that's through application. So clients might experience a little bit of tenderness, but that's really about it, as long as it's performed properly. So, and I say that because if it is performed over certain nerves around the face, it can cause a little bit of temporary nerve, I won't say damage, but a little bit of that tingling or numbness. But it only should be temporary if it's performed incorrectly. If it's performed correctly and all those no-go zones, so all those areas are avoided, then the client won't experience any of that. So training is really important, because we've got various nerves that we need to avoid, of course. So the beauty, like I said, with HIFU is we're able to target different areas, and typically a well-trained clinic will perform multiple depths of penetration. So they'll do the 4.5 to lift the SMAS, and if it's safe to do so, they will use the 3 mil cartridge. And I say safe because sometimes there may be a bit of thinning of the dermis. There's not enough collagen in that area, and there's degradation, and the 3 mil potentially could break down fat. It's not what we want. So it's really important that we actually get our clients, assess them, see if they qualify to do the 3 mil cartridge on them, to make sure that we don't get any unwanted fat, what we call lipolysis, so fat breakdown. Some devices will actually allow you or have a 2 mil cartridge instead of the 3. and you can actually do 2 mil instead. And we know the 2 mil is actually going just under that papillary layer. We know it's very safe. We're not going to be targeting any of that fatty tissue, the adipose tissue that we're wanting, that gives us fullness, if you will. And so that you'll either use the 2 or the 3 mil. And of course, with that, you get collagen remodeling and a little bit of plumping in that area. So the first cartridge is lifting, essentially, the mass in our jowl. The 3 mil is plumping. So we could do the 3 mil around our cheeks. We could do 3 mil just to give us a little bit of a lift in our brow area. And then typically we follow that with our 1.5 mil cartridge, and that is going to help with fine lines, bit of pore reduction, a little bit of collagen induction, and only a tiny bit of sort of lifting. The 3 is what's actually lifting and remodeling, but our 1.5 is giving us a bit of a rejuvenation, if you will. So typically they're performed all 3 together, or we could do them separately. So if we perform all 3 together, we get an amazing lift. But some clinics, and I highly recommend this, will only do the 4.5 on the mass area, and then they'll go and do needling, or they'll do radiofrequency, or they'll do IPL, or another treatment to actually help with that superficial, you know, the epidermal dermal junction, or the dermis itself. So you can combine modalities if you're not wanting to perform all 3 cartridges. Maybe the client is time poor, or perhaps the client is financially unable to pay, you know, the full $1,500, which is what people are charging, roughly $1,500 for 3 cartridges when performed properly. Otherwise, you know, if they're money or they're time poor and they don't have an hour and a half, say, then we could do our 4.5 and we could do needling, or we could do our 4.5 and a bit of rejuvenation. So there are ways to combine it if we're not wanting to do all 3 cartridges. The other thing we can do is just our 1.5, which is our HIFU glow. And who doesn't need a bit of glow, especially in winter? So the 1.5 goes a fraction deeper than what you would needle. So 1.5, like I said, is giving you a little bit of a glow up, if you like, hence the name HIFU glow, where we're doing 1.5 everywhere, and that's just helping with a little bit of collagen induction. It'll help with fine lines and wrinkles and so forth to a certain extent. And so they could do that. There's no downtime. There's no real redness. They can pretty much put makeup on straight away, and the skin is actually, you know, untouched because we're not penetrating anything. There's no penetration, and there's actually real no downtime. So there's different ways of performing these treatments, and you know, typically with the 1.5, I suggest we do a bit of radiofrequency to help plump and lift the skin, and then we could do the HIFU glow, the 1.5. So lots of different combinations on with HIFU. So very, very versatile. But how does it actually work? So before I go into that, if you have any questions, please let me know, and just comment in the comments box. Hello, Hanan. Yeah, just any questions, please ask away. And if you like these lives and you want me to continue doing these lives, hit that like button so I know that that they mean something to you and you want us to continue them. So that'll be great. So let's talk about the actual mechanism of action. How does it actually work? So, like I said, high intensity focused ultrasound, it is actually using, there goes the hearts, hello, thank you. The actual ultrasound itself is when the applicator is sitting on the skin, is generating, I suppose, this ultrasound, which is just a vibration. So that vibration causes oscillation and friction. When we have friction in our cells, it causes or creates heat. And of course, we're trying to target different depths and heat those depths between 60 to 70 degrees. So when the actual ultrasound is, the cartridge is placed on the epidermis, the sound is, I guess, spread out. But then by the time it actually goes to where we're wanting it to, that energy converges. And once it gets to a point, right, wherever we're targeting, it becomes a lot more intense, and it's creating that, obviously, that trauma to our skin. Now, if you think of a magnifying glass, so if we have a magnifying glass in the sun, all this energy is coming into the magnifying glass, and if we focus our magnifying glass onto a piece of paper, what happens? It comes to a point, right? And that is like, I suppose, essentially what ultrasound, that HIFU is doing. So all this energy comes to a point, and it's like a little pinpoint where it's creating that tiny little trauma. There is another technology where it's micro-focused, high-intensity ultrasound, where the actual little trauma that it's creating is a fraction of a normal HIFU, so downtime and recovery is even much more quicker. Not that normal HIFU is creating a lot of trauma anyway, unless you're actually increasing those settings too much, which we don't want to do anyway. So that's the mechanism of action. All this energy converges, meets, and comes to a particular point. Now, there are ways to improve HIFU, and can anyone actually tell me how we can improve our results, how we can improve efficacy, both on the day and leading up to the treatment, as well as that 90 days of maturation? Who can tell me what we can do to help with increasing efficacy before, during, and after? While we wait for some answers, if you know me, LED is an amazing, Kira, yes, LED. So LED is an amazing way to increase ATP production and to make our cells work the way they're supposed to. And I love LED because it's like it's recharging your skin cells' batteries, basically. By the time we've reached 60 years old, right, which is probably your target market, 50, 60 years old, by the time we've reached 60, our ATP levels in the mitochondria have actually reduced by 50%. And so LED is like charging up those skin cells' batteries, and it's making them work the way they're supposed to. And so if you, let's say, traumatize a skin that's mature and older versus a 20-year-old, we already know that collagen production, wound healing, inflammation, they actually are very different in the 20-year-old versus the 60-year-old. Everything is so much slower with the 60-year-old. So it's really important that when we're doing these types of treatments, which are traumatic, that the skin has the ability to bounce back, to recover, and basically function the way it's supposed to. So doing LED beforehand, 2 weeks beforehand, every second or third day is going to be highly beneficial in the way your client responds to the treatment. Now, Christina, love your comment. Christina's saying doing needling and LED prior and before on the day. Again, anyone who knows me knows that I love needling, because once again, needling optimizes the functionality of how this, well, it actually optimizes skin functionality and makes the cells work the way they're supposed to. So 2 weeks before any traumatic treatment, and in particular HIFU, because it can, well, not can be, it is actually quite traumatic. We're inducing all of these micro little traumas in different depths of the skin. I actually recommend 2 weeks, 4 weeks is ideal. So 4 weeks beforehand of a good vitamin A, C, and a B before, as well as your LED, doing maybe a couple of needling treatments to make sure cell functionality is up there, so the cells are working properly. And then we wait maybe 2 weeks, and then we can start introducing treatments like HIFU. So that's the 2 to 4 weeks beforehand. On the day, we want to do more LED. The other thing that people often, I suppose, that don't do is hydrate the skin on the day. And we're not just talking like internally, we're talking externally. We know sound travels better in hydrated skin. So does RF, so do other treatments too. And so if we make sure that the skin leading up to the treatment and on the day is completely hydrated, you're going to get better penetration of those sound waves. You're not going to lose any of the sound waves. So it could look something like this. We do a gentle micro exfoliation, so microdermabrasion, hydrodermabrasion, or an epiblading treatment. You might put an enzyme. So in Skindividual, we have our Cactuzyme, super hydrating. Or even the Pomzyme. I did a Pomzyme this morning. Really, really nice treatment to do beforehand. And then you put take that off, hyaluronic acid, and then we do our treatment. So in between, of course, LED. So hydrating the skin on the day is going to be really important, as well as along that journey. And then, of course, the 90 days of maturation. So we've got the inflammation, we've got proliferation, of course, which is between day 4 and day 10. And then we've got our maturation. Oftentimes people will forget that 90 to 180 days of maturation, and they think prepping is really important. But what about giving the skin the tools that it needs? When I say the tools, I'm talking about protein or about that hydration. So not just topically, but also orally. So zinc orally, magnesium, NAC. So NAC, N-acetylcysteine is going to be really important for cell functionality. And of course, also topically too. So making sure that skin is given every opportunity to recover, to bounce back, to restore, repair over that 3-month period is going to be really important. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense for you, and that will enhance not only the experience of your client, but the results, and it's shown that you care, and it's not a walk-in, walk-out treatment. It's a holistic approach. We want to make sure that their skin has the ability to, do what it's supposed to do, which is produce really nice, cross-linked collagen. Hey, Danny. And so all of that package, or the skincare journey, I like to call it, is going to be really important. Like I said, a lot of clinics will perform this treatment. They won't worry about, the prepping, and they won't worry about post-care for the 3 to 6 months afterwards. But I think if you're wanting to achieve amazing results, it is definitely a journey for your clients. And, in terms of safety, in terms of results, in terms of reducing downtime, it will all help. So that gives you a little bit of an overview with HIFU. And of course, we talk about, during training, getting the best, even more out of your HIFU device. And I think combining different modalities is going to be something you should all be considering if you're not already combining your modalities. So I know Christina does HIFU already, so hopefully you're sort of back on the tools and you're giving it best shot with your HIFU all the way in Perth. But love to hear your stories and your success stories. And if you have any issues, if you're not getting results, I think one of the biggest things you need to be considering is diet and lifestyle. And that's something that is often overlooked. Is the diet going to be supporting what we're doing? Are they hydrated? Daddy is loving your HIFU. Yes, you've got a great device, don't you, from Jeff? So, we're looking at diet and lifestyle, and of course, the lifestyle is a big one. If your client's not getting enough sleep, it's not rejuvenating. Are they in the sun? Are they smoking? Are they eating the right foods? Are they immunocompromised? So all of these things you need to take into consideration, and it's really important that we're able to educate our clients on how to maximize their results. And like I said, it's a holistic approach. It's not just we're going to do the treatment and that's it. It is, a journey. Do you have any questions or are you curious about any of the treatments or protocols? Please let me know. So just write that in the comments. And if there's something that you would like us to talk about or like me to talk about down the track, I'll be more than happy to consider new topics. We've got a whole bunch of things coming up. I know some things repeating. It depends on the demand and what messages we're getting and what people are asking for. But definitely, if you have anything, let us know. If you've just joined me, you can actually watch the replay on YouTube. So go on over and subscribe on our YouTube channel and also on Facebook as well. So see how you go with that. All right. Hopefully you'll have a great rest of the week. Like I said, just remember ZingFest, $497 for the ticket or 50% off my clinical coaching. So $497 for the clinical coaching, and that includes, like I said, the ZingFest 3 days, 6 weeks of coaching with the Zing team, and also a session with myself. Like, if that's not a bargain, I don't know what is. If you can't make it live on the Gold Coast, where I'll be there and I'll do a little presentation. But if you can't make it, and if you can't make it via Zoom on the day, it is going to be recorded. So even then, it's amazing value. Ultimate Skin Aesthetics, could you please speak about skin needling? Sure. What would you like to know specifically? So let us put that in our agenda over the next few months. So skin needling, is there anything in particular or just general? I love skin needling. I was talking about it today and how it increases interleukin-10 and it downregulates MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone, and how it actually helps with degradation of the collagen. So it actually stops degradation and it thickens the actual reticular layer. How to optimize results? Okay. No, timing is really important. Product and prep, pre and post. So let me talk about needling. So stay tuned. If you enjoy these, like I said, give me a thumbs up or a like, and I'll do more to support you all. All right. So, and what actives can be used? No worries. So stay tuned for a needling live. Christina's asking, regarding cost, number of shots per individual, size, face, area, how would you roughly work out the cost? Really good question. So with HIFU, I normally say it's $1 per line, and a line will be 10 dots roughly, right? 10 microthermal zones. So if you're doing 500 lines or 5,000 microthermal zones, you're looking at $500. A face should be roughly between 1,200 to say 1,400, 1,500. If you're being really, really precise, a full face with 3 cartridges of HIFU, so your 3 different depths, should be, like I said, between 1,200 and 1,400 rows, right, of 10. So do the maths, and you're looking at 1,400. So that's what I would be charging, and you'd be doing that roughly every 6 months. For those who can't afford 1,400 a treatment, then you can do 4.5 one month, and then you can do your 2 or your 3 another month, and then 2 months later, and then 2 months you could do your 1.5 and cost it according to the number of dots that you're doing. So hopefully that makes sense. It's like 10 cents a dot or $1 a row of 10 roughly. And so that's how I'd figure it out. Obviously the 4.5, you're only doing the smash, so it might be 400 rows of 10. Your 3 mil is going to be a little bit more. So you're probably looking at about 700, probably 700 for your 3 mil, and then close to 800 to 1,000 rows of 10. So again, 1,000, we're looking at 10,000 dots for the 1.5. So that's how I would work out the cost per dots or per rows. So that was a really good question. All right, if you're seeing a therapist, or if you're doing a treatment rather, and you're only doing like 400 dots for the full face, and you're doing 2 or 3 cartridges, and you're only doing 400 rows rather, then you're probably not underselling, you're under treating, and you need to consider how close those dots are. When you're doing the dots, they need to be quite close together, and our rows, when you move your applicator, if you're doing it in lines, then your applicator should be moving, like we're talking 0.5 mil or 1 millimeter away from one row to another. Or if you're doing single shots where it's you're moving the applicator all over the face, then you need to be zoning. Your company or manufacturer should have given you a zone and how many dots, single dots you should be doing in the area, so you're not shortchanging your client. So that's going to be really important in costing as well, and in consistency. All right, so hopefully that helps. All right, I'm out of breath. Have a great night, everyone. Have a great week, and I will see you next Wednesday. All right, see you then. Thanks for joining. Bye.